Welcome back to the Uintas. So we're doing something a little different. If you notice the sign at the beginning of the video, it also mentioned the Lofty Lake Loop Trail. Can't remember how it was worded, but that's what we're doing. So instead of turning off to the Uinta Basin and going around the west side of Mount Marcel, we're going to continue on up to Camas Lake, where, well, I've accidentally been there before. We're not stopping at Camas Lake, but I missed the Uinta Basin turnoff the first year I came up here to do a video about Garrett Bardsley. And I kept going straight. I didn't notice the sign, and I ended up at Camas Lake and beyond. I went beyond Camas Lake before I realized I was on the east side of Mount Marcel. I wondered, well, what the heck is beyond Camas Lake? Camas Lake is beautiful, but where did the trail go? I kind of walked out into a large, spacious area before I stopped myself and said, this isn't right, I've taken the wrong turn. Well, if you stay on this trail and go to Camas Lake and continue beyond Camas Lake, you can see here the junction, Lofty Lake Loop Trail, 0.1 mile. 0.9 miles is the turnoff to Uinta Basin. Here's another older sign. That's all it says. And this is a loop. A lot of people hike it. A lot of people know about it. It's new to me. So the plan tonight is to hike up to Lofty Lake. We're going to hammock camp there. And then in the morning, we will complete the loop all the way back to the parking lot. I'll put some stats of the trail up here on the screen. Elevation gain, mileage, all that stuff. There's about a 40% chance of thunderstorms overnight. It's just after 2 p.m. and I think we'll probably be at camp and settled in by 4 p.m. With all my filming and everything, it takes longer. The air is thin. I'm not up quite as high as I was in the last video I made on the other side of those two mountains. It's hard to see them because of the smoke. They're doing controlled burns up here, and there was also a fire on Antelope Island near my home yesterday. And so this is how it looks to the camera. That is Bald Mountain. That is Reed's Peak. We were on the other side of that in my last video when I hiked to Dean's Lake with my dog Scraps. That last backpacking trip may have been his last backpacking trip. I will take him car camping, but he's getting older. He's starting to move slow. He's tired all the time. He's a senior citizen at this point, and I'm not going to push him like that anymore. The other issue is he won't sleep in a hammock. I'll be hammock camping. I've significantly reduced my bulk and my weight for this trip. We'll talk about that at camp, but it just wasn't fair to him he wanted to come. He was excited when he saw me put the backpack on, but I just couldn't in my heart of hearts put him through that. I wish you could just sit down and explain to a dog the way you can a person why the answer's no, but unfortunately I can't. So he's fine. He won't be completely alone the whole time, but we will be. Coming up on some signage. You can see one trail goes off that way. Main Fork Weber River Trail and Holiday Park. I've never taken that trail. Might be a future thing. I'll have to look into it. In the meantime, we stay on the Lofty Loop Trail towards the Uinta Basin, but beyond it, down this way. So smoky. I recently posted a video of my memories of the soapstone bridge that's being torn down. I'll link it below. And some lady found me on Facebook, jumped on my Instagram and my YouTube channel and just ripped me to shreds. But she went on a tirade telling me that I don't own any of this land, that it belongs to her ancestors, simply because I mentioned that my grandpa's cabin is in the Uintas, and that he was the first cabin built up here. Did not say I owned anything. I looked at her Facebook profile. She has one friend. I can't imagine why. She told me I was a disgusting human being and that I had no business being up here. Yeah, I do. I'm sorry for whatever happened in her past that she wasn't even around for, but it wasn't my fault. I didn't do it. Yeah, so I had to block her on everything, every account I could find. She had an account on everything, and now she knows my last name. Really bothered me. Anyway, one of the hard parts about putting yourself out there for everyone to see is there are always people like that. The page she belonged to was a Uinta's appreciation page that I won't name, and on Facebook. And so she hunted down my profile. She was sending me private messages, nasty, scathing, mean things. One friend on Facebook tells me there's some serious issues there that are never going to be resolved unless she wants it to be, which people like that often don't want it to be. I had to go private on my Instagram for a little while. If that ever happens, just send me a request and I'll add you, as long as I can tell it's a legitimate profile. I've had to remove a lot of fake profiles, and every once in a while I have to go private to stop the spam and to stop the people like her from attacking me. All I'm doing is sharing the outdoors with you guys. Nothing more. I don't think I own this place. The land doesn't belong to us. We belong to the land. And we'll come and go. The land will still be here. So no, I don't think we own it. I didn't say that at all at any point in the video. I was sharing childhood memories. And this person is so unstable and unbalanced that that's what she chose to do. Anyway, there's a family ahead of me you saw just a minute ago. We keep playing leapfrog. They've got little kids with them. They're moving slow. This is pretty steep through here. They stop and rest, and then I pass them, and then I stop and rest, and then they pass me. So I'm going to give them a little more time. It may be later than 4 when we get to camp, but sunset isn't until 9, so who cares? I'm just anxious to see Camas Lake and beyond. When I was at Camas Lake, that time I got sidetracked. It was gorgeous. It was beautiful. Very buggy, but beautiful. So I would like to film it a little more and take it in and continue around the mountainside. We're going to go around Scout Mountain. It's called that because down below Lofty Lake is another lake called Scout Lake. And the reason that's called Scout Lake is because adjacent to the lake is a Boy Scouts of America scout camp. I don't know if they're still the Boy Scouts of America, whatever they are now. So they have an official camp there called Camp Steiner on the other side of the lake. So we'll be skirting Scout Mountain, going along Scout Lake, but this will all be tomorrow on our way back, finishing the loop. So this is an unusual video for me because usually I film all the way in and a little bit out because I do a lot of out and back trails. This one's an actual loop, so I'll be filming here going in. I'll be filming at camp, and I'll be filming on the way out. And we'll be taking in all kinds of sights. So this will be a different kind of video. And I have to say, losing the weight I did on my back has been marvelous. marvelous. This, I can practically run with it on. My pack weight is 30 pounds with food and water. So it's more like 25 pounds-ish, which isn't bad at all. And some of that pack weight is the pack. Get off me, you freak. That's what she said. The pack alone is probably 3 pounds. So if I had an ultralight pack, I'd be even lighter. I mean, I'm in a good position, and I am more interested the older I get, the harder the elevation is on me, the harder the trails get. I definitely want to keep doing it, but I'm going to have to lighten my load with some lighter gear that's going to cost me. Because the lighter you go, the more it costs. I don't know what that freak of nature is that keeps landing on me, but I need to get moving. Okay, I'm gonna tell this story again. I've told it before, but if you're new here or this is the only video you've ever seen of mine, here's what happened. So 2020, I came up here to go to the Cougar Basin, and there was a sign here, not these two, but the trail to Camas Lake is right there. So I came up the trail this way, and I just kept right on going. I think I actually talked to some people and it distracted me, and I just kept going up the trail. Well, this is the Cougar Basin Trail. And if you stand back here, that almost doesn't look like a trail. So if you're not paying attention, back then, when this trail was open and all this deadfall wasn't here, then you would just keep right on going, which is what I did. This goes off to the Cougar Basin, that's Mount Marcel. Cougar Basin's right there. We want to go up between Mount Marcel and Scout Mountain, which is right up through the middle. That's where Camas Lake is. Now the trail goes down here ways, and then for Camas Lake, there's a sign down here that zips back this way and continues with the old trail. But obviously, this was a little too much to clean up, so they just left it. Let nature be nature, and rerouted the trail. It was probably easier to do that than worry about all of this. So now they have this sign that says the trail, guys, is right here, because it's hard to see it. If those signs aren't there and you're coming up, this looks like rocks. We're going this way, but we're not going to continue that way. We're going to zip back this way. So on to Camas Lake. So here's the newer-ish turnoff. We go that way to the Cougar Lake, Cougar Basin. That's the way we came from. Camas Lake, 0.4 miles. Not even half a mile. So this winds through and reconnects with the original trail. It's quite a distance from that deadfall. So it's a little further than I expected. So this is new. This is within at least the last 3 years, this trail. Or this trail existed as an alternate, and they just left that one closed because this was available. If anyone knows, feel free to comment below. I'm always interested. And there's usually somebody more knowledgeable than I am. So let's go to Camas Lake. I just talked to an older couple. These people are in their late 60s easily. Just going slow and steady, coming down the trail. They just finishing the loop, heading back to the parking lot. And they said the other direction, counterclockwise, is the easier one. So I've chosen the more strenuous way, but that's okay. We have some dark clouds out that way. That's our 40% right there. So as I'm hiking, I'm thinking about my last trip up here to Dean Lake. The elevation got to me, and it's been playing havoc with me on this hike too. Not as bad. I don't know if it's because I was only up here a couple days ago, but we're gonna gain 900 and some odd feet in elevation on this loop. Add to that thin air, elevation itself is high. So that's Mount Marcel. And I stand corrected. I looked at my map. That's Scout Peak. And connected to it over that way is Lofty Peak. And that's where Lofty Lake is. I wish it wasn't so smoky. My eyes are irritated by the smoke. And also, that's probably contributing to my difficulty breathing and my raspy voice. I know I'm not dehydrated because I've been peeing frequently and it's clear. So there's that. And if I ever do this trail again, I would definitely go counterclockwise. This has been almost entirely uphill. Well, there's Camas Lake. Pretty much how I remember it. Lots of rocks at that side. Lots of trees over here. And there's our signage. We actually caught up with that family right down here, but I won't film them. Here we go. And we made it to Camas Lake. Now that I'm kind of looking at it, I don't think there are very many camping spots on this lake. It's very rocky, very open. A lightning storm would cause a big commotion up here. So, if I remember right, it goes uphill from here, and then it levels out up through there. Camas Lake is absolutely gorgeous. I was thinking that there were better camping spots here. Now that I'm looking at it, like the terrain goes straight into the water. There's really nowhere to camp. As you can see, the hillside just goes right into the water. Even right here. I mean, it'd be great to fish in. And yes, on this trip I did bring fishing gear. Not enough trees, not enough cover from thunderstorm. So we'll just keep moving. We still have time. We have plenty of daylight left. We have a pond back here for this relief valve. Give you the full view of the lake. There you go. Camas Lake with Bald Mountain in the distance. And Scout Peak. Completely quiet. It makes me laugh now because that's Mount Marcel. And in 2020, I hoofed it through here thinking, wow, the Cooper Basin is beautiful. I was actually on the opposite side of the mountain from where I should have been, and I ended up backtracking back into the Cooper Basin. Something shiny over here. Ooh, shiny. Oh, here we go. It begins. Tent stake number 1. I collect more of these than anything else. Anyway, I remember this meadowy area. I remember hoofing it up this hill, and then it levels out, and it's just beautiful with all kinds of scenery. So I will come back after I make it up this. So this is the meadow I made it to. We're way up above Camas Lake now. This is where I made it last time and saw the trail cutting across. And I walked a little ways across it and I was like, this isn't right. I should be going towards that mountain. I hiked all the way up to here and finally I had just a weak enough signal that I checked Google Maps and it actually showed the trail. Believe it or not, Google got me out of here. So I backtracked down to the turnoff where that deadfall was and then had to hike all the way back up into the Coumarin Basin. That was misery. Let us continue down our trail. So Scout Peak, this is Lofty Peak. I'm pretty sure because they connect and Lofty Lake is on the other side of that. And I hope we're through the worst of the uphill. That entire thing from the parking lot to now has been uphill. Note to self and anyone else who wants to do this loop, go counterclockwise. If only I'd known. I just went the way I was familiar with. Live and learn. I will say, looking at all the footprints, a lot of them go the same direction I'm going. So I'm not the only one. Well, I'm gonna stop saying that's the end of the uphill because I had to just come up a whole bunch more uphill, which isn't that steep, but the air is so thin. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is pretty flat. I don't know what's gonna happen after that. And here's our view. So where we came from, Camas Lake, parking lot, all that stuff. And here's looking into a completely different part of the Uinta Mountains. Hopefully, there's an even better view up the trail here. And I can kind of point some stuff out to you. I don't want to go off the trail at the moment, just for a view. I really just want to get to Lofty Lake. But this is nice. This is this is flat. It's mostly smooth, a little rocky. Way better than what I just came up. At some point we gotta lose elevation. But now I'm seeing the trail for what it is. You can see there's a dog coming down it. So our trail that those people are coming down goes up the side of the mountain. That is a bitch. I'm gonna let this girl pass. Okay, I got an older couple coming up behind me. And I just talked to that girl there. She's coming down this. She's doing the loop counterclockwise. And she's never hiked it before either. She was just asking how to get back on the loop because she kind of went down this way. But this trail, I'm actually familiar with where we are. That is Cutthroat. And then Teal Lake is hidden over there. And Jewel Lake is over in there. And then if you hike back this way and head east, you'll run into Ruth Lake and the Ruth Lake trailhead right on the highway. That was one of my destinations this week, was Cutthroat Lake. We're not gonna make it there this time. Jewel Lake, which is, well, it's up in those trees because I crossed all these meadows when I did my Jewel Lake trip. I crossed all these meadows to get to, I hiked the loop to Cutthroat Lake, and then Teal Lake, and then back to Jewel Lake where I was camped. And that's when I got caught in that nasty thunderstorm. And it seemed a lot higher up than it was. And up here somewhere is Lofty Lake. And frankly, if they can do it, so can I. Okay, well, we're all a bunch of amateurs because that couple going up, this is their first time. So the girl I talked to and her dog have gone off all downhill the smart way. These people are going the difficult way like I am. And at least I'm in familiar territory. So the highway runs through here and all the way into Wyoming. As far as you can see, that's Wyoming area. Anyway, what a view. I'm gonna give them some time and space, kind of rejuvenate and get back on the trail. I need to replenish my water soon, so I need to stop filming and get to the lake. My battery's almost dead, but I had to show you one more time. This is what we're looking at. Going uphill, skirting Lofty Peak. But good Lord, look at this view. This is truly God's country. This is amazing. Just gorgeous. And I can see everywhere I hiked before. To be up above it and have a perspective on that scary moment inside my tent with the lightning storm. To see where I was and not just down in it is pretty amazing. So from now on, I'm going to not film until I reach Lofty Lake because it's not that much further and my battery is depleting, and frankly I need my breath to just get up this hill. Well, all of this flat area is what awaited us at the top. Back that way is Cutthroat Lake, where we came from, and I'm happy to report that that is Lofty Lake, and this has plenty of tree coverage, places to hang a hammock, and to rest my weary bones. This section alone was worth it. It's so beautiful. My battery's almost dead, but I had to show the moment that I set eyes on Lofty Lake. Comes some more people coming the opposite direction. We are getting rumblings of thunder. That's what I was afraid of. I can see the trail over there continues up and over. And then, geez, it's got to be downhill to the trailhead. But here we are, the official sign. It's not a big lake, but there are fish in here. I checked. How about that? There's that couple I talked to. They're making their way up. It makes me nervous. They're going up over a saddle with that overhead, but they'll probably be fine. I just have PTSD from Jewel Lake. Wow. All right, I think our best bet, looking around, this is way better than camping at Camas Lake. Camas Lake is beautiful. The camp spots, very limited. Okay, we came in over there and have come around the lake and up into here. And this is our spot. So there's a fire ring here. I did not bring a chair this time for the sake of bulk and weight. We'll clean that up and I'll just sit on a rock. And my hammock should go right here just fine. This is home for the night. This is my view. It's down low at the bottom of this hill. So thunderstorms, not likely for lightning to hit down here. More likely up on the edges and on the ridges, near the water, that kind of thing. Our water is going to come from the lake. I haven't heard or seen a stream going in or out. So I'll just use this fresh mountain lake. and film a whole lot more of this amazing, amazing and grueling loop and hike and camp out and trip and the incredible wilderness that we're surrounded by. I'm a little delirious. I need water and I need rest. All right, just a quick rundown. I'm hooked up to my battery charger right now, and so it's kind of clumsy, but I got the tarp up. That one up first, just in case it really started to rain. It is sprinkling. I'll be quiet and you can hear it. But those don't look menacing. Those look just like a regular rainstorm, so that's okay. It's the lightning I worry about. Got my hammock set up. This is my underquilt, my zip-up bug net hammock, and inside I'm just using a jungle blanket from Snug Pack, of course, and inflatable pillow. I should be plenty warm. Over here I left everything out. I'm gonna organize it and put it away, but I wanted to show it. So I've got my water bladders to put filtered water in. That'll be my next task. This is my electronics bag, headlamp, battery pack, first aid, bug repellent, Nalgene bottle, spoon for dinner, brand new thing of fuel, paracord, water filter system. This is my hygiene and fire kit. I've got that citronella candle with me, see how that works. This is my food bag. This time I brought some Mio energy to squirt into the water so I can have that little kick that I need sometimes. My cook pot, my rain gear, my puffer coat, my fishing pole attached to the backpack there. My fishing gear is still in there. It's just a small tackle box that I made with an Altoids tin and some fish bait. I've got a saw, a knife, a cat hole digger, a thing of bear spray, and just various camera equipment. I brought a different sit pad this time because I appear to have put a hole in my inflatable one. Came with a patch kit, but I haven't patched it yet, so I brought this older one. And that's about it. That's everything. We'll go into food when I get dinner ready. As you can see, I've resorted to regular glasses, bug net, longer sleeves. It is a bit buggy. It's not the worst buggy I've ever seen, but it's buggy and this helps a ton. It looks ridiculous, but it really does a good job. I also put bug spray on so I smell nice. And that's it. We're set up. I'm gonna let this charge a little more while I go get some water. I really need to hydrate. You can hear it in my voice, it's a little raspy. I'm gonna go use my life straw that my son bought me as a present a long time ago. So Dylan, I'm finally gonna use it if you watch this. And I'm gonna fill my Nalgene bottle and just drink straight through the straw. And then once I feel hydrated, I will fill up the water bladders for cooking and that kind of thing around camp. So let's go do that. It's starting to sprinkle quite a bit more. I think the bugs will mostly go away while that happens. It doesn't look too menacing and I haven't heard much thunder. I got a full Nalgene bottle of Lofty Lake. Actually is surprisingly clear. My son Dylan bought me this. I've had one of these before. It saved my butt. I was hiking Malin's Peak in Ogden, where I'm from, and when you get to the top of Malin's Peak, just a little ways down the trail in a place called Malin's Basin, there's a huge river that runs through there coming off Mount Ogden, and I didn't know it, so I hiked all the way up there. This is 7 years ago, and I've hiked it a few times since, and it was my first time. I didn't know where the water sources were, and I used all my water up. There is a stream at the beginning of the trail, and then nothing all the way to the peak until that other river in the basin. So I got all the way to the peak and was completely out of water. And so I had one of these with me, not this exact one, but I had one with me. And I hiked and hiked and hiked down to my almost, the end of the trail where that stream was. and I literally sat in the stream because I was overheated too. This was the middle of summer like it is now. It was probably 90 degrees outside. And I stuck this in the river and I drank and I drank and I drank and I soaked my face and my head, and people were hiking by going, holy crap, what's wrong with that guy? It was dangerous, but literally a life straw gave me life, saved me. I felt 100% better after that. So I feel confident. I didn't get sick or anything, and I've never used this, and I've always wanted to, and I keep it in my filter kit for emergencies. So here goes. You have to really draw on it the first few times to get the flow going. There it is. It's a little gritty. Definitely tastes like a lake. So let's talk about my gear real quick. My last trip was a luxury trip. I brought a lot of luxury items. I bought a big tent. It wasn't big, but it was heavier than what I brought today. I brought a chair. I brought a lantern besides my headlamp, a lantern to hang in the tent. I'm trying to think of everything I left on my bedroom floor. Because I went home and I unpacked everything and I washed things, and I basically started from square one. So I can't think of everything that I left at home, but basically this hammock weighs almost nothing. It's a custom hammock. It's actually my son Murphy's, but he lets me use it whenever I need to. He hasn't used it in a long time. This pillow from Outdoor Vitals weighs almost nothing. It has a slow leak in it somewhere. I have to blow it up once or twice during the night typically. So that kind of sucks, but it's a pretty comfortable pillow, and seriously it weighs nothing. And the jungle blanket, the Snug Pack jungle blanket goes down to about 40 degrees, and it gets a little chilly after that, but it will insulate you. This underquilt is amazingly warm, so I'm not too worried about that. And I also sleep really warm. All this other stuff that I have here, none of it really weighs very much. By the time I was done bringing only the necessities and the hammock system instead of a tent, I don't have the dog with me. Much more simplistic. My entire pack weight, including food and water, I weighed it. It was 30 pounds exactly. So if you take food and water out, I did carry some water up in this, you know, I don't know how much that weighs, but, and then the food on top of it, I probably added 5 pounds to the pack weight. So you're looking at maybe a 25-pound base weight, which is really good for me. I'm not an ultralighter, I'm not a bushcrafter, so don't come at me in the comments. I'm just a backpacker, and I am trying to lighten my load so that I can go further distances. Had I tried to come up this trail today with the gear I took up here to Dean Lake, it would have been a nightmare. The other thing I was able to eliminate is the top of my pack has a pouch that's removable. And in my last video, that was on my backpack. And in this one, it's absent because everything fit inside the pack comfortably, and I didn't need that extra storage in the top of the pack. So I detached it and left it home. That was the first time I've ever been able to do that. So all of my gear is pretty light. I made it up here just fine. It was a struggle with the elevation, and it was a lot steeper than I thought it would be. But we're here and we're safe. Yeah, that's it. That's where we're at. Right now it's, it's probably dinner time. It's 6:20 p.m. How far did we walk from the trailhead? We have gone 5.2 miles and burned 578 calories, 11,305 steps. Bear in mind, that's what my phone thinks we did. If it was just counting steps, that's how many calories we burned, 578. You can see there the hike in the graph. That's what the hike looks like. It doesn't account for elevation gain and that kind of thing. Here's my comparison. Down at the bottom, the green is me, and the other two are people my age and everyone else. So it's counting steps. It's not counting how strenuous it was. I'm sure I burned more calories than that. So that's how far we went from the trailhead. And that's probably how far we have to go back. I'm gonna get the rest of my gear put in my bag. I've got a pack cover. I forgot to mention, you probably saw it. I'm going to put everything in the backpack and cover it, and we're just going to kind of wait out this weather a little bit before I go trying to make dinner. I'm just hoping that this is one of those Uinta thunderstorms that blows over and the sun comes out again and things calm down. We still have 2.5 hours till sunset. So that's it for now. And finish hydrating. So on this trip, I remember to bring the right cord to charge my phone, and I've got some shows downloaded onto it, which is kind of comforting when you're up here by yourself, to be able to watch something familiar. So far the rain has been reasonable, but kind of ebbs and flows. Same with the wind, comes and goes. Today's forecast was 40% chance of rain, which means it's still, I'm up pretty high. It could still rain quite a bit. But there's a 70% chance of rain tomorrow afternoon through Friday. Up here, you're pretty vulnerable, pretty exposed. I've got the right gear with me. I've got rain gear, I've got a tarp. I've got ways to keep warm, I've got food. I set up my tent, or my tarp, in the safest place I could locate. I don't know if we're going to have a fire, because if this continues into the evening, then it's already 6:41 now. My experience with the Uintas is that most of the time these will blow over by a certain point and the sun will come back out. So that may not happen. I have camped up here from an early age, and sometimes it rains the whole time you're up here. And the only way back to the car is all the way down the trail. So honestly, animals don't bother me, people don't really bother me, the rain doesn't bother me. The only thing I would become concerned about is strong winds and lightning. And so far I haven't seen either one of those. So far so good. I knew what the weather might be going into this and debated whether or not to come up here, but I went ahead anyway. I did that at Jewel Lake, but Jewel Lake's prediction was like 70% then of a downpour, and boy did I get one. It was terrifying. So hopefully 40% still looks like 40%. As I'm a sitting duck, you know. But my kids today, they're still in California as of the filming of this video anyway. And I texted them before I went out of phone range, and I said, hey, I'm going to be out of phone range. Just wanted you to know I love you and have a great time. Let me know. Still send me texts and pictures. I'll get them as soon as I come back in range tomorrow. And they said they're going to Alcatraz. They have tickets to go tour Alcatraz today. So that's probably, they probably by now have already been there. But holy cow, I've always wanted to see Alcatraz. I'm a bit jealous, but I'm glad they're having fun. I miss them. I miss them a lot. I just can't sit around my house when my kids aren't around. It's too much. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this trip. I feel really accomplished. I did not think I was going to make it up the side of that mountain. When I came around that bend and saw that zigzag going up and that girl coming down with her dog, I was like, are you kidding me? There's no way. I seriously thought, should I just walk back to the car and scrap this video? Just briefly. And I thought, no, I can do hard things, you know. So I got up off my butt after resting for a bit, and I made it up the mountain. That older couple who walked by me actually gave me a lot of courage. I thought, well, if they can do it, why can't I, you know? So I just barreled on through and made it up here. And as soon as I saw this lake, this beautiful lake, I was like, hallelujah, I did it. And I'm going to feel even more accomplished when we go up, over, and back down to the car tomorrow. We have to go in the morning because the afternoon is going to be thunderstorm city. And I want to be back to the car by then. So we'll have breakfast and then leave. I actually brought lunch with me, but I don't think that's going to happen. So we get to see some different lakes on the way back, some different scenery. This is not as big as some people do, but it's a big accomplishment for me personally. And that's what matters. I can say I did this. I want to look back with fond memories, though. I don't want to look back like I do at Jewel Lake with PTSD. Ugh. Well, this just keeps moving over. Drizzling, raining, then sprinkling, then drizzling. The sun keeps trying to come out over there. So I've been lounging long enough. I think I'm hungry. It's after 7. It's going on 7:30 actually. I finally want some food in my stomach. So let's talk about dinner. Well, it's 62 degrees. It's cooled off quite a bit. I had to actually put my puffy coat on. The rain has stopped for now, so I think we're gonna make dinner out on a rock. I'm not sure if we'll have a chance to use the fire pit or not. I was kind of hoping to catch a fish and cook it over the fire, which I've done before, but if this stuff doesn't blow over, that's not happening. So we're gonna go ahead and get dinner going now. Where's my sit pad? So in here I got my camp towel, got some foil for a windscreen, a lighter, and my stove, and also my cup. We're gonna have some hot chocolate. And I just realized, because I laid under there for so long waiting for the rain to stop, that I didn't gather any water. So we will be right back with water. Well, it's a good thing I'm only wearing moisture wicking pants. I was just filling this up, filtering the water right here. It's got this flat piece on it that I had it on pretty level ground, but it still tipped over. Got me. So hopefully I dry out okay. Here's what dinner is. My buddy Kent strikes again. This is his homemade freeze-dried spaghetti and meat. So I actually have to probably break that up a little, get it to fit in my pot. I'm going to pretty much eat as much of this as I can, get nice and full for the night, and then have a warm beverino. Hopefully that'll be good enough for the evening. The day is wearing on. I don't know what time it is right now, but let's do this. Ooh, did you hear that? That is sealed tight. Okay. We may have to move under the... Yeah, it's coming down pretty good. Okay, let's try this again. It's raining just enough. Here's a chunk of it. That's what it looks like. We're gonna cook it just like we did the last time I made this. It was like ramen, cooked up really nicely. This is the tricky part. And I am gonna just kind of break it up just to make it easier to fit in the pot. Okay, spilled a tiny bit. It's really coming down on the lake. I think a couple of mosquitoes just got fried when I lit that. Make sure that's solid. Don't want anything blowing over. I actually don't want it that high either. Looks like it's 7:47 p.m. This is the most steady I've seen the rain come down. I really hope he gives it up, but it's not looking promising, is it? I think these trees are really helping when it comes to sheltering me from the rain. Got the tarp and trees, because I'm looking out there at the lake and it's really hitting it hard. Not nearly as hard right here in the trees. Thank goodness. All right, let's see how we're doing. It's been a while. Oh yeah. I think we'll just turn it off at this point and let it soak up some of the excess water. I added a little bit more water because it started getting too thick, but yeah, look at that. Nice and thick. See that? Warm, comforting meal on a rainy day. Want some? I especially need this now that my pants are all wet. I really hope they dry out before I have to go to bed. My feet are dry though. Alright. I'm gonna eat this whole big pot of spaghetti. Thank you, Kent. I've had this since last year sometime. Oh, that's good. It looks like, is that chicken? No, it's a mushroom. There's mushrooms, there's meat, a nice red sauce. That is awesome. I'm going to sit here and eat this, listen to it rain, and hope that it stops. I've been sitting here listening. I'm playing a game in my head called, is that thunder or an airplane? Sometimes it's hard to tell. This is a lot of food for one person. This is probably 2 people's worth. But I'm determined. I ain't no quitter. I climbed up here, didn't I? You ever sometimes do something that you really enjoy, then you have that moment where you're like, what am I doing? Why do I do this? I know why I do it, but sometimes I wonder about myself and my choices. It's nice to hear the rain slow down. Kent, this is one of the best things you've ever freeze-dried. The last time I had this, it was amazing too. It's got a kick to it. A little bit of spice in there too. I really don't want to spend the entire camp-out portion of this trip sitting in my tarp. But there are times when you go camping and you sit in the tent the whole time because it won't quit raining. So it is monsoon season. What typically happens up here is in the afternoon and evening it rains, and in the morning it's sunny and clear. So it's deceiving. People go out in the morning and they get dumped on in the afternoon. I'm hoping this will blow over just so I can see the stars tonight. And the moon is still mostly full. That one was a plane. Last bite. You want it? Well, it's dark, but it's quiet. And there's a little bit of blue sky over there. And the sun is actually hitting the mountain. It's dusk. It's about 8:20 p.m. and sunset isn't until 9, but with those mountains there, Sunset is right now. I think while there's a break, I might try to fish. I'm not gonna keep what I catch. The fire pit is drenched, and so is all the wood around here. I'm just not gonna have a fire tonight. Look at those flowers. They're just everywhere. Lofty Lake. What a beautiful place. I'm the only person here. From what I could see, most people were just hiking through. I haven't seen too much evidence of anybody camping here other than the fire pit I found. It looks like that's the most reasonable place to camp. Somewhere 1,000 miles that way, my kids are playing at the ocean, having a good time. Me, I'm right up there in those trees, having a good time. I was hoping it would blow over, and it looks like it's going to continue to just move on. Then again, coming up here, I kept saying it looks like there's no more uphill. Or was I dumb? As far as wildlife around here goes, there's a marmot up in those rocks that's super loud when he chirps. Those things are adorable. I love them. He's right up in those rocks somewhere. These rocks over here near my camp, I've seen marmot poop, I've seen coyote poop, and I've seen moose poop. I have no idea how old any of it is because everything's wet. But that's all I've seen as far as scat goes. Starting to sprinkle again. I really do want to try to fish. In the morning I just plan on breakfast and get out of here, but I guess I better grab my pole while I can, set it up, and come down here and try. Unless that decides I can't. And by the way, my pants dried just fine, swinging back and forth in the hammock with the breeze blowing through. They dried out. That's why I wear these. They dry quickly. My shoes are a little wet, but my feet aren't. Walking through all of this, you can tell the runoff comes down here in the spring, right down into the lake. Well, let me get my pole ready, and I'll wait and see if it's actually going to stop raining or not. We may or may not fish Lofty Lake. I know we're not having a fire. It's already after 8. Sun's gone down. Well, I'm all set up to fish, but it won't quit raining. I've got my rain suit, so you may be wondering why I don't just put that on and go down there and fish. Well, I don't want to get my feet wet. I don't have waterproof boots on. I have trail runners. I don't need to get wet and cold right before bed. Worst case scenario, if it doesn't stop, I mean, it stopped for those few minutes for me to get those gorgeous shots of the sunset. But if it keeps raining like this, I'll just try in the morning. Like before breakfast, I'll throw a line out and see what happens. I have seen a few jump, and I read online that it is a stocked lake. I've been trying to let my Nalgene air dry. I didn't really think that through. I was so thirsty, and I had the life straw, so I was excited to just hydrate. I drank a whole liter, but I didn't think it through. I put contaminated water in this and then drank through the straw, which is fine. But if I need water for tonight, you know, as much as I try to shake all the excess water out, there are microbes in there that could actually make me sick. This is fun. I just usually do a lot more. It just keeps raining. At least it's not pouring. It's not like letting loose on me. I'd still like to do other things though. I still need to find a place to hang my bear bag. One thing I forgot to mention, there really aren't very many bugs, by the way, but I really like the way this candle smells. It's kind of comforting. So the rain and the wind have kind of kept the bugs away. They were pretty bad when I got here, but as soon as it started storming, that was it. Anyway, this is kind of a disaster. Everything's all over the place, but I spread these out on purpose. You might notice, if you watch my videos, you know I always bring a roll pack with my fire kit, my first aid, and my hygiene in it. This time I did not, and the reason why was simply to save weight. And it made a difference just to put everything in its own Ziploc. This is my fire kit. I've got fire starters, a bellows, some Espit tabs. You can cook on those as well if in an emergency, in a pinch, and a lighter. That's all that's in there. And I've got my first aid and bug repellent. I don't know how well you can see this. I haven't turned on my headlamp yet. Let's try that. And this is just melatonin, stomach medicine, ibuprofen, just basic, a few small meds. I used to keep all of my meds in just like a little cylinder tube thing, so it didn't really make too much difference, but this allows me to put more in it. The tube thing was just too restrictive. I couldn't keep everything I needed to in there. So it's just basic needs, nothing special. And then finally I have my hygiene kit, and I've mentioned this before, but I've never really gone into detail. There's toothpaste, a foldable toothbrush. These are towels that you can get wet and they will expand. This is MRE toilet paper, and that's pretty much it. The other thing I did is I cleaned out my first aid kit and just simplified it with this system, because I had a lot of stuff in my first aid pouch in my roll pack that was just ridiculous. I couldn't believe I still had it. So anyway, that's one thing I forgot to mention that I did different, trying to save space. The other thing with the roll pack is it's really bulky, trying to fit it in my pack. It just takes up too much room, so this was easier. I felt the difference all the way in. I was practically running up parts of the trail in the beginning, just as it kept going up, and my spirit was crushed because I kept thinking I was over the hard part. That was a bit discouraging. It slowed me down, but overall the pack was really comfortable. This candle is burning really well. I was just about to grab the pole. Stop it. Okay, I think we better jump on the fishing thing while we can. Well, there's my little pole. It didn't go out very far. Seems to be a little hang up on some of the line. It went out far enough. I've even seen fish come right up to the shore and kind of flop out of the water, so I know they're in here, and it probably doesn't matter if I'm in the deep part of the lake or not. But look at that. Do you hear that? That's the sound of it's not raining. There's a patch of blue sky up there. The animals are starting to make noise. That's awesome. Now, what would cap this night off perfectly is if we could catch a fish. If nothing happens, that's okay, because look at this amazing scenery that we get to look at. There goes a fish right there. Not very far out. I'm out further than that. There are a lot of bugs down here by the water. I forgot my head net. Well, I tried for a while. Didn't get any bites. They're after the bugs. There's a lot of bugs. I'm bait fishing, so fly fisher would do really well here. Anyway, I lost my bait, and so I didn't bring any down to the shore with me. I just thought I'd try before it got too dark. I gotta figure out what to do with our food before it gets too dark. I see a tree limb over there already that I like. So we need to get the food up in the tree. Anything that smells good, including this candle that I left burning. You see that? I forgot about it. I can smell it from here. Look how far away I am. Wow, that's effective. I thought I was just going to get rid of the bugs right in my vicinity, but wow. All right, let's hang the bear bag. I probably won't film that because my battery's almost dead again. So this was kind of surprising. So camp is right there, as you can see, and I walked over here to use these big old dead tree limbs to hang our bear bag. You can see it there, our food bag. But look what is right here in the middle of these trees. Look at that beautiful fire pit with all these places to sit. And this unopened bottle of beer. I'm not a drinker, so I'll just leave that there for someone else. My first thought was, oh crap, this is perfect. I could have camped here. There's a meadow back there. There's all these trees I could hang my hammock from. But the reality is, these trees are all dead. They could be widowmakers, and they could also be lightning rods. As cool as this fire pit is, it is not a cool place to camp, I don't think. Someone obviously thought it was. And they spent some serious time on that fire pit. Probably had a huge bonfire. So that was pretty cool. Usually I explore around my camp in the daytime, but it wouldn't stop raining. This is the other grove of trees I considered, but with all these dead trees, I decided it wouldn't be wise. Just nothing but dead trees. And look, this one fell over. Leaned on that tree. These trees are huge. I mean, they're not California redwoods, but man, that's massive. He lived a long life. All right, back to camp. I just wanted to show you that fire pit and the bottle of beer and where I put my bear bag. Turn off the light so you can see just how dark it is. It's time to go hang out in the hammock. It's very quiet here. Well guys, it is that time. I'm not even sure what time. It's 9:38 p.m. Turning off my alarm to go to work. That's not happening. I'm beat. That was a heck of a hike in. I feel accomplished. I'm just gonna lay here and keep warm. I did make one mistake, and that's I did not bring, I can't believe I did it again, but I did not bring a change of socks. So my feet are cold, and I will just do my best to weather the night with cold feet. Just wrap them up in this jungle blanket and hope for the best. Anyway, as you saw, the bear bag is hung. The trail camera is on a tree over there facing towards the hammock. I had a heck of a time finding a tree that was small enough to wrap around. The trees here are huge. I had a viewer make a comment about one of my videos about how thin the trees are in Utah compared to where he lives on the East Coast. Okay, I don't know, this is basic ecology, but he must not understand. On the East Coast, there's a lower elevation. The tree line is lower. When you get up above 10,000 feet, trees cannot properly grow the way they can at lower elevations. You actually reach something called literally the tree line, where there's a line where the trees stop and it's just stone and earth. And that's what these peaks are around me. So I'm just explaining that more as a courtesy. Maybe he's never left the East Coast, but I don't think it's somebody who subscribed or anything. I think he was just passing through and he found a couple problems with my videos. So many people do. But I just wanted to point that out. We are at the tree line, and when we leave in the morning, we will hike the trail up out of the tree line and then back down into it again. So that's what that's about. It's elevation. You can look it up. It's basic ecology, ecology 101. That's how it is. If you go down lower, the trees are extremely thick, and I think this guy was just kind of trying to say that their trees are better than our trees. You know, we didn't put them here, right? So there's that. Just thought I'd clear that up. I'm really feeling tired. I've got some heartburn from that spaghetti. That's why I brought the stomach medicine. I knew that it might do that because my delicate stomach can't handle much tomato-y stuff, but man, it's filling. I'm stuffed. I didn't even have the hot chocolate, by the way. If you're wondering, you're probably not. But I was full. I'm still full from the spaghetti. So I'm gonna lay here and watch a show and then take some melatonin, call it a night. The storm's gone. It's totally gone. And the moon will be out tonight and it will be bright and not quite full, but it probably doesn't come out for another 45 minutes and I'm just too tired to stay up for it. If you want to see what it looked like a few days ago when it was full and it rose, I have a really crappy footage of it in my return to Dean Lake video. So it's pretty amazing to see it with the naked eye. Was even more amazing. But eventually this whole area will be pretty well lit up, even though it's super dark right now. And that's about it. I'm gonna swing here in the hammock and get warm and cozy. I may have to take my socks off and hang them on my little line here to air dry. That's what I did with my towel and it's all dry. So I gotta have dry socks for morning. There's just so much swampy stuff around here, and that's the one thing I forgot on the last trip, and I was like, I can't do that again. I've got to have backup pair. And I got a backup pair ready, it just never made it into my pack. So I always forget something that matters. Anyway, if you listen, you can hear your heartbeat. Alright guys, I'm going to bed. Hopefully it's an uneventful night. And I will see you bright and early in the morning. Good night. Whoop, something happened here. There we go. This is kind of a pain in the dark. I've been sleeping with my fuel, so it's nice and warm. Shouldn't sputter too much. The stove is kind of cold. Alright, Alright, so there's our hot chocolate setup. I've been eating the beef jerky. Probably will eat the trail mix. I need a full stomach and lots of energy. That's how much water I've got left. It's probably just enough to put in the Nalgene. The Nalgene is all dried out. I left the lid off overnight so that old water would evaporate. Hopefully there's no microorganisms living in it. If you're wondering why I didn't just heat the water in the cup and dump the hot cocoa in, it's because I like the sheen on this cup and I don't want to burn it off. That's funky. Not the water, the flavor of cocoa. Vanilla chocolate sounds really good, but French vanilla. It's got a strong... I feel like I'm drinking a candle. It's warm and comforting and it's calories, so I'll drink it, but not a fan of the vanilla one. I had the raspberry one, that was pretty good. The mint one's really good. Regular chocolate. This one, not so much. The winds have calmed. The rain it drizzled for a while and then it stopped. This is the weirdest outing ever. The crown jewel. The hike was harder than I thought it'd be. Then it rained a bunch. I haven't been able to sleep well. It's 4:45 in the morning and I'm already having breakfast. And I'll start packing things, and when the sun is up, I'm hiking out. I don't think I've ever done it this way. This is strange, but what we're looking at, the reason I'm so anxious about it is there's a 70% chance of thunderstorms today and tomorrow. I've mentioned it before. And up here they can be dangerous. And I'm up super high, very exposed. I have to hike the trail down. There's no shade or anything on the first part of the trail anyway before it goes back down in the trees. And so this is erring on the side of safety so I don't get stuck in a storm or something. So the good news is most of the time with these monsoonal storms is that they hit in the afternoon and evening. So as long as I leave this morning, I'll probably be down to the car. It's all downhill. And I have less distance to travel from here to the car than I did from the car to here. So I'll probably only take a couple hours maybe to get back to the car. That's my guess. So I apologize if this is a kind of a weird video, but every adventure has its own personality, and I can't think of any two backpacking trips, car camping trips, hikes that I've gone on, day hikes, that have been the same. They've all had something unique to show me, so this one by far has to top the list. This is not what I expected. Looking out at the sky, the moon set a while ago, and I can see the outline of the mountains over there in the west, which means in the east something's happening. It's not exactly leaping over the mountain yet, but the sun is working its way up. This will be a long episode. That's just the way I do things sometimes. And by the way, I don't post like weekly or anything like that. I post when the video's done editing. And sometimes that's monthly. Sometimes it is weekly. It just depends on how much I'm able to get out and get things together and find the time and space to do it, because this is not my career. This is just a passion of mine that I like to share with people. I've seen some YouTubers complaining lately about not getting paid by YouTube and that they're thinking of quitting. I don't do YouTube to make money, so that's why you keep getting videos from me. And if I don't feel like doing a video or going on a trip, I just don't. You'll hear from me eventually, but, you know, that's just how I roll. If you subscribe to this channel, just hang in there. Sometimes it's a while before a new video comes out. Look at all the bugs in this candle. The light itself attracts the bugs to the light, and then they get stuck in the wax. Pretty gross. Smells good. I'm impressed with how powerful it is. All the bugs they've mostly left me alone. But as soon as that candle goes out, they're all over me, especially if my headlamp is on. Yeah, that hot chocolate was gross. Blech, not a fan. Anyway, I'll shut up. I'm going to sit here and chow down for a while. Wait for the sun to come up. Thank goodness the wind stopped blowing and the rain stopped falling. It is 6 a.m., actually about 6:10 a.m. Nothing has been left over there except for that beer. Here's the situation. I have just been milking the last hour and a half, taking my sweet time. Oh man, it'll be good to breathe again. I have not been pushing myself at all. As you can see, I'm packed. I'm ready to go. This is where we were hanging. Everything's in there. I'm propped it up with my water bottle. Nothing is left. The water filter stuff, all the stuff I left here when it rained. We couldn't have a fire, it just rained too much. And I think this is the perfect time to leave because the wind is picking up and more of the same is blowing this way. And the moon actually is still out. I didn't even know it. But it's right there. Happy little moon. It's much bigger in real life. So I noticed just standing up, squatting down to get something, unraveling paracord from a tree, winded. We're up here, guys. Just strolling around. I can't breathe. That's why I couldn't sleep. I've never had this altitude affect me like this. I've always just been fine. Except for that Kings Peak trip. There's some kind of mechanical equipment up there. They've got to be weather stations. There's one up over there. And now I just spotted this one that I didn't notice yesterday. But this is the saddle between, that's Lofty Peak and Scout Peak over here. We're going to go up through and over the other side, and then it should be downhill from there. So that's the plan. I'm as ready as I'll ever be. I'll roll in some B-roll and show you what 70% chance of monsoon moisture looks like in the Uintas. This was the Ruth Lake trailhead. Not long after I started hiking, I was stuck under a tree in a massive downpour. That's 70%. So, no thanks. Let's get up over that ridge and finish this loop. All right. Looks like 53 degrees. I don't know if you can see that or not. So not horrible, not freezing cold. Let's go. It's time to get back on the trail and head back to the car. We have a little bit of climbing to do. One more look at Lofty Lake. Camp was up in those trees right there. It's been good to us. Didn't really put out any fish, but what a beautiful place. The trail is right up here. And you can see how it winds up through there. I can't quite tell where it ends up, but it looks like up into those trees. That's Scout Peak. That's Lofty Peak. Here we go. One last look at Lofty Lake. Looks like our trail curves and goes up that way. I doubt we'll be able to see it much more. Farewell, Lofty Lake. Okay, according to my topographical map, anyway, my map that shows elevation, that was the worst of it. Coming through the pass right now to the other side, what a view. There's gonna be a lot of huffing and puffing in this video. Wow. Oh my goodness. That is breathtaking. That is Hayden Peak. If I keep going that way, I'll hit the highway. But we're supposed to come down this. That is Scout Lake. And that is why there is a, I don't know if you can see it, that's as far as I can zoom, but there's a little dock right there. It was a scout camp. Camp Steiner is what it was called, and it's a scout camp down in those trees. And it is no longer called Camp Steiner. So we're gonna make our way down to Scout Lake, kind of skirt around the edge of it, and work our way back to the Pass Lake trailhead. Well, I just can't get enough of this view. We're the only ones up here. A lot of smoke. And looking at my map, that lake is called Picturesque Lake. And we shall see. I believe the trail goes right by that too. Sunrise coming up over Hayden Peak there. Well, you can't tell. This camera tries too hard to compensate for light. If it's too bright, it darkens things. If it's too dark, it lightens things. There you go, if I tip it. Sunrise. I have some awesome pictures from this if you want to visit my Instagram page. So there's a better shot of Picturesque Lake. For some reason I can't say that word. And just to the right, that's the highway. So we have to hike down through all this and back to the trailhead somewhere adjacent to the highway. I just can't get enough of this view. Here comes the sun. Do. It's all right. Out there, that's the monsoonal moisture I'm worried about. So we are trying to beat that before it comes and just dumps on this whole area. So I'm going to stop filming for a bit as I make my way down this rocky trail. This is what I'm talking about. This, if you're unfamiliar, especially that guy on the East Coast, we are above the tree line. See? That's why the trees are thin. We're so high up. The trees won't grow up here, but we walk down just a little ways and we go back into the trees. Just like Robert Smith said, into the trees, into the trees. Okay, Lofty Peak, Scout Peak, and we just came down through all of that, right through that pass. That was crazy. I'll tell you what though, sure is nice to be walking downhill and being able to breathe. Like as soon as I got down to this level, the breathing isn't so difficult. I can feel it already. And we're back in the tree line, just barely. I'm gonna have to put my sunglasses on soon. Bald Mountain over there. Nice flat trail right here. Oh, here's a sign. All right. Lofty Lake, no thanks. Ruth Lake Trailhead 1.6. That's across the street from Hayden Peak, so that makes sense. Ruth Lake, 0.8 miles. So if you want to go just to the lake, it's probably a trail that cuts down to there. Been there many times. But we are going to Scout Lake. And I shouldn't even acknowledge that someone did that, but please don't do that, guys. No one thinks it's as cool as you do. And no one thinks you're as cool as you do. Anyway, Scout Lake. Half a mile. And we'll be there. What a rocky trail. Look what we did. We came from right there. Lofty Peak looks a little more lofty now. That's crazy that we came down that. It's crazy that we hiked this entire loop. Some people hike it all the time. But most of the people I met on this trail yesterday, it was their first time, just like me. Starting to get some views of Scout Lake. This is pretty steep. I wouldn't want to come up this. I can see why people go the other way though, because once you reach the pass up there, which you can't see anymore, it's all downhill the rest of the loop. This is pretty brutal on the old leg muscles. It's slow going. Looks like we have a pipeline running into the scout camp. It's not a scout camp anymore, but I'll probably keep calling it that because it's called Scout Lake. Whew. What's this sign? Danger, high voltage, please step over the cable. That is not a pipeline. That is electricity to the camp. That's what those stations were up on Lofty. They're power stations. They power the scout camp. I mean, one of them could be a weather station, but I'm thinking that's where their electricity comes from. There are cabins all in there. I don't know how close we'll get to them on our trail, but you can kind of see if you look right there, that's a cabin. There's a whole bunch of them. I've never actually been there. When I was a Boy Scout, that was very much an active camp. And I don't think my scout troop ever went there. I wonder if the trees are thick enough now for our East Coast friend. You tell me you couldn't walk in there and get completely lost. Scout Lake. Beautiful. Storms are coming. Ugly dark ones. Well, there's a trail coming down here, going right to the shoreline. There's a sign right up there too, so we'll know how much longer we have until the Pass Lake trailhead. So let's sneak down here and take a look. It's definitely not occupied at the moment. It's very quiet. American flag right out there in the middle. Sitting in the middle of the lake. We could probably catch some fish right here. I can see them pooling out there. It'd be worth it to just hike to this lake and fish for the day. It's not too far from the trailhead. You know, without doing the entire loop. Cabins are up in those trees. Beautiful. Now I know what it looks like. Highway goes right by the entrance. I always wondered what was up in here. Look how clear and deep the water is. Well, let's see what Mr. Sign says. It is 7:30 in the morning. By the way, only 0.6 of a mile to the trailhead. Scout camp that way. Just keep following the trail around the lake. Ruth Lake trailhead, half a mile. Faster if you swim. Coming up on an intersection. Trail that way. Trail that way. This is probably an access road for the scout camp of some kind. These are just letting us know to keep going straight. Hit a little bit of uphill. Just taking a breather. Continues that way uphill. Just noticing a couple things. Someone tried to build a lean-to down here. And then over here we have Picturesque Lake, which we can barely see. Across from it is a little log cabin. Pretty cool. Alright, let's get this done. There's a better view of Picturesque Lake. I just can't say that. There's someone camping down in those trees. It's good to know this is here. I wonder if there are fish in it. Man, I'm so ready to go back to the car. I have a Mountain Dew Zero, a Coke Zero, and to contradict both of those things, a Fast Break candy bar waiting for me in a little cooler in the back of my car. I also have a tumbler full of ice water. So usually on the 2-hour drive home, I will devour all of that. And with the light breakfast I had, which was just a Cliff Bar and some jerky and some hot chocolate, and the energy drink I've been consuming as I hike, I'm probably going to be hungry enough for that giant candy bar. I think I've earned it. If you're ever hiking, you should leave yourself a reward in your car. You're going to burn enough calories anyway. I don't eat candy bars on a regular basis. It's just when I come up here and do something like this. This is sketchy. This is the trail. Really rocky. It is very picturesque. I'll tell you, my ankles and my thighs and my shins and my calves, basically my legs, really taking a beating on this trail. This is crazy. I think this is worse than the first half of the loop was yesterday. You can see how you have to kind of watch every step. Boy. This is kind of nice though. It opens up the tail end of Picturesque Lake. Jeez. It just keeps going right through there. My least favorite part is going down these really tall steps. It's quite a step when your legs are all wobbly. Look at this amazing rock feature. The trail goes right by it. Just coming right up close and personal. Wow. We must be getting close by now. I've been hiking for quite a while. And I'm feeling the hunger pangs. I definitely want that candy bar when I get back to the car. Oh, it smells amazing through here. That pine is so incredible, especially right after a rainstorm. Speaking of that, blue sky is disappearing on us. I think we chose wisely to hike out early. Maybe it's kind of a blessing in disguise that I couldn't sleep well. I decided to just get up and go. It was kind of nice because usually the packing is such a chore. I'm so tired at the end of camp, and it's my least favorite thing, having to pack all my gear again, put that pack back on. And because I woke up so early and had an early breakfast, I was able to take my time packing and just ease into it. Just looking back at Picturesque Lake. Farewell. We've left all of that behind us. We have a sign. Just another one that tells us where the trail is. Which is kind of weird because you can tell. Okay. Keep going. Okay, that was crazy. I couldn't film any of it. It was too rocky and zigzaggy. Just zigzagged all the way down through here with big steep steps coming down. According to my map, once we get past the zigzaggy part, it's just a straight shot to the parking lot. Well, we've continued to zigzag through all these rocks. And it looks like it goes down and then across. I'm hoping that's straight back to the parking lot. I've had enough. As much as I love getting into the outdoors and doing this thing that I do, I love returning to the comforts of home and a hot shower and actual sleep and to be able to breathe. I'm still struggling with it. There's a lot of humidity with these clouds moving in. Okay, we came down all the zigzags. This apparently curves at one point, and then it's the straightaway to the parking lot. That doesn't mean it'll be easy. It could be all downhill and rocky, but I don't care at this point. I just want to sit down. Well, we're finally on some flat, well-maintained trail without all the rocks, and I just passed a couple. Who said I'm only about a quarter mile from the trailhead, but I'm almost there. I thought I'd already covered that kind of ground since I saw the last sign, but I'm starting to see, yep, I can see vehicles straight ahead. We did it. We made it back. We completed the Lofty Lake loop. Had some adventures along the way. I can't wait to open that car door. That's gonna do it for this adventure, guys. Do yourselves a favor. Get off the couch. Get outside in nature. Have an adventure. The views are spectacular. And if you can't get off the couch for whatever reason, come along with me. I could use the company. Oh, I'll see you in the next adventure. After I recuperate. Take care, guys.